If you could please introduce yourself to the jury.
Special Agent Elena Honey, Elaina Honea.
Thank you, ma'am. And was your former last name Coffee?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Can you please tell the jury where you're currently employed?
Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you been with the GBI?
About 12 and a half years.
What is your job?
I'm currently a crime scene specialist and have been for the last 11 years.
What does that mean?
As a crime scene specialist, we specialize in actually processing the crime scene, collecting evidence, and processing items for DNA or latent fingerprints.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your education and background to get to where you are?
Yes, I have a bachelor's and master's degree in criminal justice. Then when I was employed with the GBI, once I became a crime scene specialist, I've taken several hundred hours in crime scene specialized training, to include 400 hours from the National Forensics Academy, which is commonly referred to as the Body Farm in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
And do you have to continue training in this area that you work in?
Yes.
How many hours would you say a year do you do continuing education?
Probably at least, on a slow year, 40 hours is minimum, but usually it's several weeks of training, which average 40 hours of training a week.
Have you been an instructor for training?
Yes, I have.
Like what kind of training?
I teach an advanced crime scene processing class to numerous local agencies. In addition to that, I have taught basic bloodstain pattern analysis for the National Forensics Academy.
And have you, you've trained in, you mentioned bloodstain pattern analysis. What is that? Can you describe that for the jurors?
That is the basic course. You're identifying what types of bloodstains there are, as far as whether it's a drip stain or just identifying what type of bloodstain it is. In addition to that, you may be able to determine if it's an impact stain. You may be able to determine a point of impact, where somebody was when they were hit that created a blood stain.
And you have another focus in shooting incident reconstruction?
Yes.
And how much training have you had in that?
A lot. I've had a couple hundred hours, I believe, in shooting reconstruction.
Okay. Have you ever testified as an expert in criminal trials?
Yes, I have.
About how many times would you say?
I believe around 18, give or take a couple.
Okay. At this time, the state moves to admit Ms. Honea as an expert in crime scene processing, to include bloodstain pattern analysis.
As to those issues, I don't have much.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, witness has been tendered as an expert. An expert witness is someone who has experience in training over and above that of a normal layperson, and therefore they are allowed to testify as to their opinion based upon that expertise. All right, go ahead.
And Judge, at this time I would move to admit her curriculum vitae as well, as states, I guess it would be Honea Exhibit 1A.
All right, any objection? No. All right, submit it.
Okay. Am I saying that properly, Ms. Honea?
Honey.
Honey.
Yes.
Okay. We're all saying it wrong. Okay. Did you have the opportunity to get called out to 2155 Purcell Lane on July 7th, 2018?
Yes, I was.
For what purpose?
I was requested to assist with a Bluestar analysis, which is a chemical that reacts with the presence of blood.
Who did you meet once you arrived on scene?
It was crime scene investigator Daryl Clark.
Okay. And can you tell the jury, you mentioned Bluestar, can you tell the jury a little bit about Bluestar and how that works?
Bluestar, a lot of people have heard of luminol. Bluestar is another chemical very similar to luminol. The purpose of it is to locate blood that is not visible. We have multiple types of chemicals that we can use. If we see blood, we can enhance it. If we don't see blood, we'll use Bluestar or luminol to search for blood.
And does Bluestar have any, does it react to anything else?
Yes, there are false positives, usually a cleaning solution, and I'm sure there's a list of false positives that it could react with.
When it reacts to those other materials, does it react the same way that it does to blood?
It reacts similarly. Usually when you see it, it looks more crystallized. I don't really know how to explain it without actually physically showing you, but it does react with metals as well. So when you see it on a metal surface, it lights up very quickly and then dissipates, as opposed to when it reacts with blood, it stays luminescent for, a few seconds longer than when it reacts as a false positive.
Did you have the opportunity to photograph your what you did at 2155 Purcell Lane that day?
Yes, I did.
And at this time, the state would move to tender into evidence copy 1 through 22.
Noted.
If you could please look at your screen for me, and we'll walk through this with the jury. We're looking at coffee 1. Is this one of the photos that you took at 2155 Purcell Lane?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what are we looking at here?
This is a photograph of the dining room.
And we'll go ahead and move to coffee 2. Is that the same area?
Yes. So the other thing to mention with Bluestar and luminol, it has to be very, very dark in order to see the luminescence of the chemical. So when I'm taking pictures, some of the pictures are going to be brighter than others, so I'll take multiple pictures of the same area if I see luminescence there and maybe the photograph that I took is not fully showing what I'm seeing. So this is just another picture of the same area, the dining room table.
Are you sort of testing your lighting there?
Yes.
And when you have the photo in front of you after you've taken it, can you also adjust the settings of that photo to see the luminescence better?
You can on the computer. I'm sure you can on my camera, but I don't.
On the computer?
Yeah.
Is what I meant to say.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to show you coffee 3. Is that same area, different lighting?
Yes.
Okay. Coffee 4, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this so you can describe what we're looking at here.
So this is the same area. This is where I actually have the Bluestar present. And you can see that it's luminescing. If you look at the 2 candle holders, they're bright blue towards the top. It's luminescing with the metal as a false positive. But I try to photograph with light and the luminescence by keeping my shutter open so that you can see the specific area in the room that I'm photographing, but also showing luminescence. So you see the luminescence on here, and if you go back to the picture before, the candle holders aren't going to be blue like they are in this picture. You see that they're more of like a bronze goldish color, but then if you go ahead, that's where I sprayed the Bluestar. I was searching for blood. I got a false positive on the metal.
How did you know this was a false positive?
Just because again, when it luminesces, it shows up immediately and then dissipates, and then also it only showed up in the areas that metal was there. So it indicated that it was likely a false positive, not consistent with a blood luminescence.
So you mentioned that you have to be fairly quick to catch the reaction when it's a false positive. You keep your camera, you kind of were talking about how you did that. Can you describe that a little bit?
So I leave my shutter open. I use a remote. I open my shutter. I put it on what's called bulb, and that's where the shutter stays open as long as I want it to. And this is how you may see pictures that if you're taking a photograph of a car moving and you leave your shutter open, you're going to see the car as a streak going across the screen because your shutter's open and it's not actually like capturing the image because the image is moving. So that's what I'm doing, but my focus is of a still object. So I'm leaving my shutter open so that it will capture whatever's lighting up in that photograph, which is the luminescence of the candle holders. And then I'll hit my flash to light up the scene a little bit just so you can see where we're located in the crime scene. And then I'll close my shutter with my remote, and I have this image that shows the luminescence from the Bluestar, and it has lit up the scene as well.
Moving from coffee 4 to coffee 5. And what are we looking at here?
This is also in the dining room. This rug was underneath the dining room table, if I remember correctly. And this is the basement door that goes down to the basement. So this is just an image of the dining room floor before I've sprayed Bluestar.
So how did you know where to spray it?
Did you spray it all over the house? Were certain areas pointed out to you? Describe that for the
I believe certain areas were pointed out to me, if I remember correctly. What I did was I made the Bluestar, I mixed up the Bluestar, and then I did just a cursory spray to see if I got anything in the general areas that they mentioned. And once I found the spot, that's when I set up my camera to obtain photographs.
And did you only photograph what luminesced?
Yes.
The areas that luminesced?
Yes.
So if we're not looking at photos, so we're not looking at places that did not luminesce?
That's correct.
Okay. But you did spray other places where it did not luminesce?
That's correct.
At 2155 per selling. Okay, so the next, this is coffee 5. I'm moving to coffee 6. If you could zoom in a little bit, explain to the jury what we're looking at now.
So it's hard to see up there, but you can actually, can I stand up?
Of course, if that's okay with the court.
If you see right here where the rug was, you can actually see some spots that are luminescing consistent with blood. It's hard to see with the lighting, but right above the little hand, you can actually see where the area is luminesced on the rug.
And so there are,
Lights.
oh, that would be a very good. I'm going to try to zoom in. You can kind of see, is that a place where it's luminesced up
Yes.
here where the cursor is?
Yes, there's just what looks to be just a couple drops towards the top, but then the slightly larger spot on the rug right there, where the cursor is.
I'm gonna mess with it over here. Let me see if I can get it. My monitor looks completely different.
Okay. And is this also an area that luminesced, this tiny spot over here where the cursor is?
Yes.
And this was the stairs down to the basement
That's correct.
and the dining room rug?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to continue. Okay. And moving from coffee 6 to coffee 7.
Excuse me. So this is a little bit farther over. If you're facing the basement, it would be to the left. You still can see the rug. You can still see where the basement door is. This is a little bit farther in towards the kitchen area. If you look to the left of that wall, that is actually walking into the kitchen, if I remember correctly. So this is just, again, I'm working with photographing areas that I saw that luminesced before I actually get a good picture of it luminescing.
So going from coffee 7 to coffee 8. We'll zoom in here a little bit.
So this is that same area on the floor, and it's difficult to see up there, I think, but there are,
We'll talk through it. Go
okay.
ahead.
It's luminescing, consistent with blood, and it's in some linear curved marks, consistent. It looks like maybe it was wiped up or cleaned up. It's not consistent with liquid blood and how blood disperses onto an object. It's more linear, like it was wiped through or wiped up. And if you look at the previous photograph, you're not seeing the blood visually, which indicates that it was cleaned. You're just seeing the streaks of blood that were cleaned up or wiped up.
And if someone were to have cleaned that with some sort of bleach or anything like that, would the Bluestar have reacted to that cleaning solution?
Yes, it would.
And would you have caught that in the same photo?
Yes.
So this, what's luminescing here is consistent with cleaning up.
It's consistent with cleaning up. What I can't say without a DNA test of this area is it cleaned up because there was bleach placed on it and it was streaked across like that, or was it cleaned up because it was blood streaked across? All I can say is that luminescence is consistent with blood and it appears to have been cleaned up. It's got streaks through it that are consistent with being wiped up.
All right. Okay, I'm showing you coffee 9, I'll go to 9 first. What are we looking at here?
This is the same area. This is a little bit farther. I believe it's a little higher up, closer towards that wall than the previous photograph, but some of them you can still see the streaks, but you can also see what appears to be drop, like drips. They're more circular in nature over to the side.
Over here?
Yes.
Now, can you describe when the blood is on top of
Something textured like wood or carpet. What does that do to the solution, to the blood?
When it's mixed with Bluestar or just in general?
in general?
So anytime it's on a textured surface, like let's say you drip blood directly down, you're going to have a circular blood drop on the floor if there's no movement or anything like that. When it's on something textured, it then becomes a little staggered. It doesn't look perfectly round. It's irregular in shape. So you may not be able to determine what degree the drop was dripped onto the floor, especially if it's 90 degrees or close. There could be movement, there could not be. It's not something that you can definitively determine.
And then what happens when you put Bluestar on
Bluestar is a liquid, so if you have blood present and you spray Bluestar, you have the potential to manipulate the shape of the blood stain because you're introducing a liquid to a previous liquid, even if it was previously dry.
From 9 to 9.1, where we had adjusted the lighting on that. Looks a little different on the screen up there, but
Yeah.
And that is next to the area that appeared consistent with cleaning swipes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving from 9.1 to coffee 10. So what are we looking at here? And I'll start up here. Just zoom in.
This is a photograph from the basement. I'm towards the bottom of the stairs photographing up. So that door at the top of the photograph goes into that dining room area. So we're on the other side of the door now. And on the, second step down, we had an area that luminesced consistent with blood.
And then is that
Yes.
at the bottom also
So
consistent?
that bottom stair in this photograph and the next one up also had areas consistent with blood that luminesced.
Okay, I'm going to show you, that's this 10.1 where the light was adjusted, but it appears we don't need that anymore. And then I'm showing you coffee 11. So I'm going to start up here towards the top of the stairs.
So this is standing at the door looking down the stairs. So we're still at that door in the dining room area. Again, you can see that second step down, that one blood drop, or that one area that luminesced consistent with blood is the one that you saw from the bottom of the stairs looking up. And then the step below that one has a few more stains that luminesce consistent with blood.
I'm going to move to mid towards the end of the stairwell.
Yes, and then you've got one towards, I guess it's several steps up, you've got a little bit of suspected blood, and then the bottom step has an area a little bit larger than some of the other areas that we've been looking at.
Okay. And then this is 11.1, lightened up a little bit. It's those same areas.
Correct.
And did you continue to do Bluestar down in the basement at the bottom of the stairs?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Is this a photo of that area?
Yes.
And I was showing coffee 12. Now I'm moving to coffee 13. What are we looking at here?
I'm not sure these are my photos.
This is coming down the stairs into the basement. Does that... Here, let me show you your photos. Coffee 16?
Yes.
Okay. Is this
So-
a photo you took?
Yes. So this wall that you're looking at, if you look to the right of it, that's going back towards the stairs. Luminous. consistent with blood.
I want to focus on these areas. Are you able to tell directionality or anything of that sort from these areas?
No, not from these stains, none at all.
Okay. And how come?
Again, mixing the Bluestar, which is a liquid, it's going to potentially alter what the actual stain looks like. And I don't recall being able to see these stains ahead of time, so they may have been cleaned up prior to me examining them.
You could not see them without the Bluestar.
Correct. If I remember correctly, I could not see them without the Bluestar.
This is 16.1, where we just brightened it up a little bit. And this is coffee 17. Do you remember where this was?
I believe this is the stain that you saw in the previous photograph over towards the right, going back towards the stairs, I think.
Okay.
Okay, if I could just have one moment.
Thank you.
All right, that's right.
Afternoon, agent. My name is Michael Ray. I represent Ms. Farris. Who called you to come out?
I believe it was the crime scene investigator, Daryl Clark, Daryl Clark, crime scene investigator at the time.
Okay. Because
Well, I think my supervisor called me, letting me know that they were requesting crime scene, and then I contacted him for information.
okay.
Turn the lights back up. You're gonna go back.
You keep that.
Okay, you're gonna use them some more.
Because you actually get out there. It's actually Saturday at 7, correct?
Correct.
They said lick down.
So they had already been out there for 2 days now.
I have no idea when the initial call came in.
Okay. All right. Do you know why they called you out?
I don't recall the specifics. I don't remember if they didn't have Bluestar or they had run out of Bluestar. I don't recall the specifics. They just reached out to us to spray Bluestar.
Okay, just specifically to do Bluestar.
Yes.
Okay, because there's been prior testimony by other crime scene technicians of things that they had Bluestar.
Okay.
Tractors, RTVs.
Yes, I didn't do any of that. It was just the residents is all they requested.
Did they ever have you, because I don't see it in any of the photographs, did they ever tell you about a suspected blood droplet by the front door?
No.
You were never directed to that area to see if that was blood?
No.
Okay. Who pointed out the areas to you?
I would assume Daryl Clark, but I could not be specific. I don't remember definitively who pointed it out.
Do you recall who was out there while you were
There-
doing your testing?
There were a couple, whoever the lead investigator was, I believe he was out there.
That guy?
Maybe. It's a long time ago. I don't remember specifically.
But there were other investigators out there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I want to show you, I think it was coffee number 6. Start there. That is, you're saying right there around that hand there that's a possible blood drop on the carpet.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. Now you're just there to do this, right?
Yes, I am there to identify areas that luminesce. I did not swab any blood. I did not submit anything. I did not have anything to do with this investigation.
You were spraying
except to spray
Bluestar?
Bluestar.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let me ask you, we'll come back to that in just a second. With your Bluestar, I know it comes in tablets, correct?
Yes.
Then you mix those with a solution or with a liquid?
Distilled water.
Okay. So you mix the tablets in the distilled water. What do you mix it in?
It's a spray bottle, and we buy new spray bottles specifically to mix the Bluestar every time we use them.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you buy a brand new spray bottle.
Yes.
So like the spray bottle you use here, it's no good anymore.
We don't use it again, no. We throw it away because the granules, as the distilled water, the Bluestar mixture settles, the granules get stuck in the straw at the bottom that goes up through the spray bottle, so it's no good after a day.
Okay.
So we don't reuse it.
Okay. Would you also agree with me that if, for example, let's say you did reuse a bottle, that if you ever used it for something else, it could give false positives? Like you started mixing regular water in, or any other chemical?
I don't know. I've never done it.
Okay. What do you know, or do you learn through your testing that What would happen with Bluestar if you mix tap water with Bluestar to spray it?
I have just never done it. But they've always said use distilled water. That's all we use for any chemical processing of anything we do.
Because the Bluestar is actually reacting to iron, right?
I don't know. Possibly.
Okay.
I believe it is reacting to the amino acids in the blood.
To the amino acids in the blood. Okay. But you can't say definitively whether it's human blood or not.
Correct.
So
I can't even definitively say that it's blood. All I can say is that Luminesce is consistent with blood.
Okay.
Again, I didn't take any of the swabs. I didn't submit anything to the crime lab.
and yeah, we'll come back to that. So basically, it's just something that might be blood
Correct.
that gives you just an idea of a direction you might need to look.
It's a presumptive test.
Okay. Now, one second, because you had talked with Ms. Frankish about false positives.
Correct.
Does Bluestar, does it have on the bottle, or do you learn through your training? It's like, hey, these things will cause false positives, so just keep an eye out for it.
It possibly on the package in the
From
instruction manual.
Because I think you would testify with Ms. Frankish that it reacts to bleach.
It can. I believe it can. I know luminol does. I've just always assumed Bluestar does too. It may not.
Okay.
I've never tested it on specifically bleach.
Okay, here it was, coffee 8. So you're saying that that's what's illuminated. It might actually just be bleach.
Correct, which is what I said.
Okay. That's why I was just trying to make sure that's
it could
that's
be
what I
a
heard.
cleaning solution. It could be blood. Again, like all the areas that luminesced, they may be blood. They may not be.
Okay. Have you ever gone on Bluestar's website?
Just to order Bluestar.
Okay. Have you ever looked at they have on their website a published report regarding false positive studies?
No, I have not read that.
Okay. Are you aware that household products, certain ones can cause false positives, right? Food products can cause false positives. Were you aware of that?
I've heard that. Yes.
Also, other chemical compounds can cause false positives.
Okay.
And yeah, okay. But you are aware of that.
Yes.
Okay. So, when, for example, let's go back to the rug. It's right here. Coffee six. Go back to the rug. So, I know that nobody asked you to swab anything or test anything or anything like that. But, so let's just say that you're on a crime scene up in our circuit. And that would probably be, Agent Hamby? Wouldn't he be one of the main investigators in that?
He's a supervisor now, but yes.
Okay. So let's say y'all are out at the scene. You got a presumptive blood drop on a carpet, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. In coffee 6. What are you doing with that?
I would then swab it for submission to the crime lab. I would then test it with another presumptive test like phenolphthalein. And if it came back positive with phenolphthalein, I would probably then do a animal versus human blood test kit, which is a hexagon OBTI test kit to tell us on scene whether it's human or animal. But most importantly, it would be swabbed prior to any secondary testing.
Okay. And it might even be taken into evidence, right?
Oh, it definitely would be.
Okay. Definitely. Okay.
The swabs of suspected blood, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, how about why wouldn't you just take the whole rug?
If the one drop is there, probably just the swabs, or I would cut out a section of it. If there's significant blood on that rug, then yes, we would take the whole rug.
Okay. Let me show you coffee 10. So we got presumptive blood here on the stairs too, right?
Correct.
Up at the top.
Yes.
So you would do the same thing with that.
Correct.
And you would have done the same thing with the coffee 16, for example.
Yes, any area that luminesced with Bluestar would have been swabbed.
Okay. Would have been swabbed, taken into evidence, and sent to the crime lab?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did anybody ask you to go do any Bluestar testing out in the barn?
No.
Did anybody ask you to go to the barn at all?
No.
All right, it's just this one specific spot.
Yes.
Okay. As an investigator, before I get into that, let me ask you about this. So I know this was the photograph when you were just getting your lights
Correct.
situated. All right, so coffee 1 here. But you didn't find any blood on this silk chair,
No.
either one of these silk chairs? No blood on the table?
No.
And then that one photograph. I never realized that. I thought those things were just blue. But that's false positive from luminol because you had sprayed all of this in luminol.
Correct.
Okay. And yet again, none of this gave any indicators.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what's your actual title?
Crime scene specialist.
Crime scene specialist. So as a crime scene specialist, if this rug, for example, is in that house in 2019 with presumptive blood on it, that's probably bad crime scene investigation, right?
The following year?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily say bad. I would say if swabs were obtained from the area, or at least a section was cut out, the whole rug is not necessarily considered evidence as long as you collect the evidence off of it. Circumstances, it just depends on the circumstances of the investigation.
Okay, but if let's say for example, it wasn't swabbed and it wasn't sent to the crime lab.
I'm not going to testify to whether it's bad or good.
But you would have done it, right?
Personally, yes.
Okay. How about the carpet on the stairs? Would you? I know you would have swabbed it. It's a possibility
I probably
you would have cut it out.
I would have cut it out. Yes.
Okay. And yet again, you didn't go out to the barn. You weren't asked to.
No.
How about out in the garage with the Kubotas and the tractors and all that?
No.
Nobody asked you to test any of that?
No.
Regarding those presumptive blood droplets, you can't tell any type of directionality.
No.
That is because when you spray the Bluestar, it changes the shape of the droplet?
It could. It also, like I said, I don't recall it being visible when I first started spraying. So it's possible that when it was cleaned up, it altered the shape. There's any number of reasons why it could have. There could have been a towel on top that it bled through. There's various reasons why I wouldn't be able to, but the main thing is, yes, you're introducing a liquid to blood, which is also a former liquid, even if it's dry.
Right, and since you can't determine any type of directionality, you can't even definitively say that's a presumptive blood trail, right? Because you can't
Correct.
say it has a start or an end.
Correct.
Okay, it's just.
I don't know if it started in the basement and went to the living room. I don't know, or in the dining room. I don't know if it started in the dining room, went to the basement. I could not tell you.
You can't even say that they're actually connected. I mean, it could be just two different people.
Correct.
Two
Correct.
different things.
Yes.
Okay. Completely unrelated to each other.
Correct.
And lastly, and I think you've already answered it, but you cannot say that is the blood of Gary Farris, correct? In the upstairs.
Correct.
Correct. In fact, can't even say it's human blood at all.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions. No, hold on 1 second. You remind me. Just 1 second. I'm going to show you some photographs. They're not yours.
Okay.
Because you. Let's see. This was Thrasher 279. All right. Were you aware that in this case that there was a projectile found in the basement? Somebody notify you of that?
I don't remember if they did or not.
Okay.
I recalled it being a shooting, but
Okay.
a possible shooting, but no, I was not aware of.
All right. I want to pull up. Just give me 1 second. This also isn't your photograph, but is that how the basement looked when you went there? That is Thrasher 46.
If I remember correctly, yes.
Okay. All right. So your luminol testing was, and just follow the little mouse pointer, was kind of right here, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you luminol any of this, such as the chair, the ottoman, the couch?
I don't remember. If I did, I wouldn't have gotten any kind of luminescence, or I would have photographed it. So if I don't recall how much down there I sprayed.
Okay. Do you recall if you sprayed particularly right here in front of this chair and this rug?
I don't remember.
Okay.
If I had and it had luminesced, then I would have photographed it. So
Basically, the jury's got your word that if right here Bluestar had illuminesced, you would have taken a photograph of it.
if I sprayed there.
Okay.
If I sprayed there and it luminesced, I would have taken a photograph.
Okay. Well, I mean, surely, if law enforcement knew there was a projectile there on the floor, right? You can see it right here.
Yes,
Let me
I can
zoom
see
in
it.
for you right there.
Yes.
So they knew there was So presumably they would have told you, hey, there was a projectile found here. We need to test here too, right?
I would think yes, but
Okay.
like I said, I can't remember if anyone told me.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not they asked you to do any testing down the hallway in the basement, or was it strictly?
I believe it was from the dining room to the basement area. I don't remember how far into the basement that I went. I know I made it to that one wall, but I don't recall if I made it any farther.
Okay. No further questions, Judge.
Redirect.
No redirect, Judge.
All right, you can sit down.